The darkness of Fluttershy's room was punctuated by 2 pinpoints of faint white light, sitting precariously close to the edge of her bed. It wasn't uncommon for Fluttershy to wake up to the pleading of one of her several dozen animals, asking for food or water. They had been better about it in the past, but every now and then one of them would forget their need for their owner to sleep and pester her when she needed rest. But she still loved them anyway. But this was different. Fluttershy's eyes were having trouble adjusting to the darkness of the room. The night light she usually had on was, for some reason, absent. She could not see which animal was asking for her help. She moved to speak, but something stopped her. In the back of her mind, a flash of instinct told her that the only 2 words she needed to know. 2 words which spoke to her very being, and no doubt kept her living longer than she would have if she hadn't listened. Don't move. Fluttershy's fatigue began to leave her as her adrenaline started to kick in. Something was wrong. It was staring at her only 3 feet away from the edge of her bed. The outline was hard to discern. A series of circular shapes congealed silently into a bulbous form, where a perimeter of fuzz, possibly hair or fur, dotted the edge of the shape. 2 lanky, elongated protrusions marked the sides of the thing hanging down from the side. They did not move. It swayed only the slightest amount. Fluttershy could not tell if it was rocking side to side because it was nervous, or maybe because it was something it was consciously doing. Like a snake charmer moving silently to hypnotize a snake. And Fluttershy could not look away. She felt it doing so would not end well for her, though she couldn't tell why. But the eyes were the most telling. 2 larger circles of faint illumination created a border around the face of the thing, moving inward towards the pinpoints of light. The strange thing was, even though the body swayed a little, the eyes did not. They stayed locked in position no matter how much this thing moved. What could she do? Fluttershy's heart raced and threatened to burst out of her chest. She started to shiver, but said nothing. She clenched the blankets of her bed ever so slowly, hoping not to startle the thing. Maybe if she hid under them, it would go away. She was seconds away from curling under the bed, when a whisper of words was spoken into her ear from behind. Fluttershy froze. Her eyes widened, and she noticed the light points in front of her widen as well. Frozen breath wafted in the air over her face. A chill ran down her spine. Something was right behind her, on the bed, and it had just spoken to her. Her breathing became labored, but she did everything she could not to make the noise. Tears began to fall from her face as she shook uncontrollably. Her mind searched for something, anything to calm her down, and it settled on one key thought. Why hadn't the thing behind her attacked yet? She couldn't see it. She wasn't staring at it. Any predators who hunt in packs in the wild would not wait for their prey to become scared before attacking. All of her animals understood this, and yet it spoke to her. The words were not comforting in the slightest. They sounded cautious, as if the being on her bed was attempting to give her a warning. Why would a predator do that for her? Unless... what if they weren't working together? What if one of them was the killer, and the other the protector? It was her only hope. The slightest bit of evidence she had now was that if both were working together, that they would not be waiting to attack the prey when one clearly had the upper hand. But who was her protector? Was it the one behind her, or the one in front of her? She needed to know. There had to be a way to know. If her hunch was right, and she had seen enough animals to know that if it had been right, she had to be a 50% chance of picking the right thing. What other option did she have? The night was deep darkness, and no doubt hours before dawn. She could not outlast these things, not before one attacked. She could stand to get more information. She didn't know what the thing behind her looked like, but if she did, would that even help? Maybe she couldn't look. Maybe too much movement would set one of them off. The one behind her was her best bet. If it didn't want her dead, why would it have said anything? She had one idea. She hoped it would work. Carefully and slowly, she lifted her arm and hoof, resting on her body with her hoof upraised slightly behind her. Any creature with limbs might see this as an attempt to reach them. She waited and felt her heart aching to make her put the arm down. To do anything but that. She had no other options. She needed to do something. There was an exhale of chilled air over her. She moaned slightly in fear. Her body tensed the moment she felt contact on her upraised hoof. Something cold and rough wrapped itself around the edge of her arm. It was constricting and unrelenting. She dared not look. The thing in front of her started to sway faster. Now the pinpoints of light were moving a little. Had she made a mistake? Was this one watching out for her the whole time? What if she was wrong about both of them? What if neither was for her and they were simply chatting before dinner? A creaking sound began to build behind her. Something deep and unnatural. It moved closer and closer to her ear. Something above her was staring, and it had the same 2 pinpricks of light as the other 2. She had to think fast. This did not seem like a friendly approach, and she didn't want to risk it. Wait. How light was the thing? She felt its grip on her hoof, but it was not overpowering. How big was it? The one in front of her was scarcely more than a few feet high. She barely moved her hoof and felt the grip tighten. It was not letting go. Her breath intensified, and she felt a twitch in her wings. Of course, her wings. She knew what she could do now. Without thinking, her instincts kicked in. Her wings flared up behind her. The thing behind became startled and released its grip. Fluttershy had her hooves on her pillow the whole time and swung it out from behind her head. She aimed at the pinpoints of light in front of her. It unleashed an unearthly scream. She leapt out of bed, engaging her wings and sailing for the front door in flight. That's when she saw the open window and knew how they got in. She diverted course and sailed for that instead. As she flew out in the night, she turned and looked down at the window she had escaped from. 4 pinpoints of light stared up at her, waiting.